It is time to return the favor. Spencer Grossinger of Rover Sports, ESPN, 6:10 a.m. So now we got to get you on my show. And we are behind enemy lines because Spencer is a Giants fan. So we're going to get into this game right now. Eagles and Giants, looking at it from the other point of view. So let's get into it right now. Spencer Grossinger, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man, and it's funny, I'm around Eagles fans all the time, have a show here in this city, so I clearly know all about Eagles fans, had you on the podcast, so I think we could speak similar language and get along here, and we'll try to get along,
Yeah, I get along with my opponents. I try to, so we'll see. But I know that we're probably in this thinking, we both think Ben McAdoo stinks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really funny, Adrian. I'm in an interesting predicament because I'll be completely straightforward with you. After what, since our franchise or since, the Giants has won, I know that Ben McAdoo is not bringing the city of New York a championship. I know that he's a fraud. I know that last year was just, an awful schedule. You look at the Giants last year, Adrian, and they were the Odell Beckham game against Baltimore, but the Giants were 2-3 at that time, and they needed like a fourth down miracle catch to set a 6-game winning streak up, and the Giants were able to beat the Bears, the Bengals, all these crappy opponents. And that's essentially why they made the playoffs. So this offense was awful last year. And you look at Ben McAdoo, and I'm sure from looking at the Giants, you could tell that they're not the same way that they used to be. They're not running the football. They're not ground and pound. They're losing their identity. They're trying to conform to the rest of the NFL. And I know that Ben McAdoo is such a fraud. And Adrian, he's kind of a jerk also. He's kind of an asshole. He treated Eli Manning like complete shit. I mean, New York Giants fans have Eli's back, and I know that he hasn't been elite. That's been the conversation all around the national media. But you just have to admit, if you ever watch a McAdoo press conference, he's kind of a prick. And I'll tell you the truth, man, I wouldn't mind him leaving New York. So,
well, he looks like a bag of sour cream and onion chips. That's what he looks like. Goddamn milky.
The greasy hair, like a prison guard,
Yeah. Slick back hair now too,
Yeah, prison guard, and the thing is, man, I'll be honest, to see this game, a real part of me is rooting for the Eagles to absolutely humiliate the Giants just so Ben leaves. I really mean that, as painful as it would be, because that would get the mayor's attention. And the Giants aren't winning a championship, and you guys are in the business. You had Chip Kelly 11-5, but you know that the guy's a fraud. You got to get him out, and I'm totally, on board with getting Ben out as soon as possible, and that could mean getting embarrassed this week.
Yeah. Now let's get into the offense itself. 8 straight games where you haven't scored 20 points. What do they need to do? Does he need to relinquish the play calling? Do they need to try and run the ball more? Obviously, that offensive line really, really stinks. So what are your suggestions to that?
The suggestions are, first, Eric Flowers needs to be, as far away from the facility as possible. What's so funny, Adrian, is that, when has there been an offensive lineman that was as popular as Eric Flowers, right? He's universal in that he sucks, right? Everybody around the NFL, he's a household name because he's atrocious. And left tackles, they shouldn't be that way. He's been a bust, drafted, I think, like number 20 out of Miami. Quiet kid. But he just doesn't have the athleticism to move and play tackle. He can't, he can run block okay. So, the strategy to score more points is take more risks. Let Eli throw more interceptions to, try to get pass interferences. You watch this Giants offense, it's so conservative.
Yes.
It's constantly, it's the offense is the same every time. It's a draw play, a 3-yard dump off to Evan Ingram, who's like Will Tye reincarnated. And take some damn chances. Send Odell on a deep ball, throw a back shoulder ball 25 yards, and let Eli, instead of throwing it 40 times, have him throw it like maybe 20, 25 times, try to draw some pass interferences, enough with dink and dump, because that's not what Eli is. Quarterback that's a play action guy. He's more like Flacco than Rodgers. And that's why McAdoo in this offense is wrong. They overrate Eli in the sense that he thinks he can carry a team like Breeze, and he's not a Drew Brees. He's not a Phillip Rivers in that sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make there. And you speak of the dink and dunk and the vanilla-ness. It makes Chip Kelly's offense look like rainbow sherbet.
It really does. It really makes Chip Kelly's offense look, incredibly explosive. And no way could Nick Foles score 7 touchdowns under Ben McAdoo. That would never happen. So, Raiders game, and I know that Raiders game was crazy with Chip, but Ben McAdoo and the offense, they got to take more risks, and the personnel it's just not a fit. That's why he's going to get fired, because it's just not a fit, with the Giants.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, even if you make a switch with Eric Flowers, it's not like it gets much better off the bench. DJ Fluker's been a bust on his own as well.
Yeah, you're right. And, I like Richburg, and Justin Pugh's one of the, the better linemen on this team. And I think it's also they don't practice it. It's not physical practices. It's very, routes on air, and they don't practice under center. They don't really have a fullback. Ingram is not a blocking tight end. Yep. So, people can insult, Paul Perkins and Wayne Gallman, but I think that they could be successful if they would just, commit to running the ball. And I think the guy, has talent, but he's never allowed to show it, Adrian, With Orleans Darkwa, it's like you see one run, and then people are like, wow, this guy could be pretty decent. He's not going to touch the ball the rest of the game with McAdoo.
Yeah. And I'm kind of with you on Paul Perkins a little bit. It's hard to do anything when you're constantly being tackled behind the line of scrimmage, when you generate no push in the running game.
Right.
That's something that we're dealing with here in Philly right now.
It's really unbelievable. It's out of the shotgun. They don't commit to it. The other team's never going to get tired. And, Adrian, I think you watch Giants film as well. Like, the Eagles are going to be able to just put 3 or 4 guys there. So the passing game, you're really at a disadvantage. There's going to be 7, 8 guys who are just going to be able to double everybody. Even though the Eagles' cornerbacks are weak, you're going to be able to double and give so much help. The D-line is just able to win no matter what. Giants can't win one-on-one.
Yep, and that's a great point. You rush 4, you drop back 7, and you're able to rush with 4 on that offensive line, that's for sure. First 2 games, 8 sacks by the Eagles' defense, and then 8 sacks allowed by the Giants' offensive line. So what do they have to do to negate?
What do they have to do to neutralize, like, the offensive line is what you're saying?
Yeah, what do they have to do?
I would throw a lot, I would throw screens to Beckham, try to get it on the outside. Running the ball is going to be difficult, but again, with Eli, I would definitely take deep shots throughout the game with Brandon Marshall. Instead of having Marshall go 15 yards, try to get him in fly route situations. The Giants like to run a lot of complex routes. Like, they like to run a lot of, like, flag routes that takes time. Eli's not going to have any time. He's going to have like 2 seconds and he's dead. You know what I mean? I'm worried for Eli safety in this game. Jernigan's, Brandon Graham. Like, I really am worried. So with Eli, you got to get that ball, one read, and even if he's throwing it up into double coverage with Odell Beckham, you have to just take that chance. You shouldn't care for turnovers this game, Yeah,
I'm kind of with you there. Again, it goes – this offense of the Giants has not scored more than 20 points in more than 8 games. You have to take some chances. And I think we'll see max protection. We'll see some chip blocking. We'll see definitely the quick passing game with Beckham, quick slants. You'll see the screen game, all that good stuff. So we'll see how many sacks the Eagles get. It's funny because that's been the talk all week, but last year in 2 games, the Eagles only had 1 sack.
Yeah, there's no real, explosive plays, in the passing game for the Giants. And I still watch the Kansas City and the Washington game, and Kirk Cousins should have been wrapped up. Everybody's going to talk about Vinny Curry not wrapping up Smith, but Smith is good at getting out and, evading tacklers, and he's able to get the football out relatively quickly. But the defense, I thought, Adrian, really was putting pressure on him through the first 3 quarters. I mean, you had to be impressed by the defense last week,
Oh, yeah, dude, I've been very, very impressed. the first 2 weeks. Doug Peterson kind of cost the Eagles the game because of his screen call. This is something that he does. 3rd and long, it's always a screen. He doesn't put the ball in Carson Wentz's hands. It was a predictable play call. You knew it was coming because Jeffrey was lined out on the right side when he was being worked from the left side all afternoon, from the slot all afternoon. So you know the screen was coming because he's a good blocker. And obviously the way the Chiefs played it, Justin Houston was in the passing lane immediately. So they knew it was coming. It got picked off, and there you go. So Eagles defense looks great, but, you know, that's what happened last week.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you do have to take more chances. I mean, the first half was exciting, seeing Torrey Smith, you know, even Marcus Peters on one play. I remember this play vividly. Torrey Smith had like 15 yards, and it was a pretty routine play against Marcus Peters. Yeah. You know, they had Terrence Mitchell. You watch the Patriots game, Terrence Mitchell was holding, and they didn't go after him at all. So I would love to see Carson Wentz. That Redskins game was exciting for Eagles fans because he was throwing it deep, and everybody wants to crap on Carson's deep ball. He's one of the only guys that's capable of scaring defenses like he did.
Yeah. Janoris Jenkins. Has he been ruled out yet?
Jack Rabbit Jenkins.
That's huge because he's a big physical cornerback that can handle Alshon Jeffrey, and he also moves on both sides of the ball, so he's able to shadow him. Unlike the first 2 weeks where you had Josh Norman, Marcus Peters, they stay on one side of the field. So if he's out, which it seems like he's going to be, I think that's huge.
No, it's a concern. You know, Eli Apple is far from perfect. You know, he does make some nice plays, but you know, you look at Alshon, and I think Cromartie will still be able to cover him pretty effectively. Like that's one matchup I'm not really worried about is DRC, because I think DRC, when he's playing, I mean, he's out so often, DRC, you know, always with an ankle. He always has some nagging pain, you know, Amukamara always had, but that's the one matchup I'm not really worried about. I mean, if you get Jeffrey on Eli Apple, you'll be able to take advantage. You know, Cromartie and Apple are not great tacklers, so screens to Cromartie will be effective. He missed tackles last week, so but the matchup of the Eagles passing game, it really doesn't scare me all that much. You know, I think it's process of elimination. Take care of the rock. The only way the Giants are winning is with their defense, Adrian.
Got to force the turnovers. Got to force the turnovers. That's what they got to do.
And I'm not really talking smack today because I know you guys have the upper hand, man, in this matchup.
Yeah, Giants fans, they've been very quiet this week. They've been silent, you know. And then Sunday, if they win, by God, they're all going to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, and then what's going to happen? Tampa Bay. Free. It's hard to defend the team when you know you don't trust the coaching staff, or when you want to see radical changes. It's really hard to get pumped over the matchup. And Adrian, it's a 6-point spread. That must be one of the biggest in this rivalry's history.
Yeah. So you're saying that you don't trust the process?
The process. I mean, the Sixers process is a different thing. But then, this process ain't going anywhere. It's a fraudulent process. It doesn't work. The only reason they made it to the playoffs is because of Spags, because of Jerry Reese. You know, Giants fans, Jerry Reese, but you know, it's pretty amazing what this defense was able to accomplish, because the year before, when they went down to New Orleans, they were one of the worst defenses in the history of the league. They got Olivier Vernon, Janoris Jenkins. All the pieces came into place last year on defense in a radically quick time, and everybody was talking about how they were overspending, and they really didn't, because their defense last year was ready to win a championship. They were a championship-level defense. They went to Green Bay, and they played a flawless first half there, and if they would have had some semblance of ball control, they would have been a really tough out. And looking at the Giants, the schedule's too damn hard. The defense is going to eventually get mad at the offense, Adrian. Landon Collins is going to revolt, like playing for this coach that really treats them like crap, like we were talking about. And the defense is going to get tired of carrying the offense, and the whole thing's going to fall apart. And you saw last week, Adrian, Detroit return a touchdown. So you're seeing, signs of this.
Yeah, yeah. Almost a little bit of a similar situation here in Philadelphia. You got Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator. I have all the confidence in the world in him, just like you seem like to have all the confidence in Steve Spagnuolo. But in terms of Doug Peterson, I just don't see it. Same thing with you and Ben McAdoo.
Right. I mean, at least Doug Peterson, like the players he really seems to be a good guy.
Yeah, he's not a prick like Ben McAdoo.
You watch the press conferences. Doug treats everybody with respect. He really gets along with Howie Roseman. I look at Doug Peterson, and he doesn't commit to running either, which is definitely a problem. So it's very one-dimensional. You look at Jim Schwartz, he struggled in Buffalo. Steve Spagnuolo, he struggled with the Rams at his only opportunity. I'd be more comfortable if Steve was the interim, because the whole team would just, the chemistry would be a lot better. Because Ben McAdoo, imagine him getting along with anybody. Man, I really can't.
Yeah. If the Giants win on Sunday, what has to happen?
Okay, for the Giants to win. What's funny? If you talk to like Giants YouTubers out there, I don't even know if, the TTC is really rallying up camp. Like, I don't know if the Giants YouTubers out there are rallying up saying that they're going to win. I have to see happening. I have to see some pick plays for Odell Beckham. I have to see some really explosive plays. There was, I think, a game a couple of years ago, Adrian, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Victor Cruz caught a screen pass, went like 80 yards. I think it was a day game, where the Giants were able to control the game and win. So they're going to need to hit some deep, deep balls, quick scores, because they're not going to move it consistently. Ben McAdoo wants to have 15 perfect plays, and Eli is so turnover prone. He's a big play guy. So you're going to need to take chances. You're going to need to throw it up to Brandon Marshall and just let the athletes be athletes. And then hit on a couple of big plays. You could see Vernon coming in. You could see Carson airmailing passes, and you could see some interceptions. And the first quarter of last year in New York, turning point in the game, I think it was 14-0 before you can blink, because Landon Collins had a pick, and then Eli was able to hit Shepard for 40-yard touchdowns at will throughout the game. So that's what's going to happen. A perfect storm of BS, kind of like storm of bullshit, just like Chip going to New England, same sort of deal.
Yeah, that's a good point, because the Eagles had like 3 return scores. Like, it was just a complete lucky win. That's what it was. I want to get into your run defense now.
Right.
Statistically, it's not great, but I still think it's going to be good on Sunday. You got to deal with that defensive line, Olivier Vernon. I don't know how they're going to do against Damon Harrison. I know that they got Chance Warmack. They're making the switch at left guard, but I don't see how they're going to win that matchup.
So the Alabama kid's coming in now. So Sayamalo's headed out.
He's out. He got 4 sacks last week.
Right. And that was a tough matchup. And, you got Big V. So you do have depth there. But, Brandon Brooks, can Brooks stay solid? I'm not really worried about the Giants defense. And Snacks is a weapon.
Yep.
Tomlinson is really gives you a lot of depth at that position. So I think the Giants' defensive line is very healthy. Hopefully, B.J. Goodson can play at linebacker.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
No.
Hey, how you doing, Sports Doctor? How you doing?
Sports Doc there. He was coming in.
What does he have to say about the Giants? What does
Real quick, Cap.
McAdoo?
He's working right now. I'll try to get him on board. Real serious work here at the office. Giants defense, I think, will be totally fine. They really haven't been a disaster at all in their first couple of games. So I really think the Eagles are going to have trouble running the football.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll say this. I don't think this game is going to be as easy as everyone says. 0-2, backs against the wall, desperation on the Giants side. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. A lot of Eagles fans are thinking blowout. I think that this one will kind of stay close. Eagles might pull away at the end. I got 20-13 Eagles. So what do you have? What are you thinking?
I mean, the Eagles, you know, if they don't start off the game well, it could be it could be tighter. Again, I'd suggest, you know, going out, you know, sending Alshon deep, really utilizing Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has really been effective for the Eagles. And I definitely can see this game getting ugly with Eli Manning. If the Eagles have any lead, not going to be able to move it or protect Eli. And with their scheme, if they don't take any deep shots, the game is basically over because they're not going to march on this Eagles defense. The Eagles are so nasty, you know, defensively. I honestly have this game as like 27-6. I see it being a
so you agree with all the Eagles fans. You think it's going to be a whitewash.
I am. And, you know, it's funny. I even, you know, you try to save yourself and try to, you know, talk out of both sides of your mouth sometimes. So, you know, in this football game, Adrian, I even put big money down on the Eagles, really trust the -6. And the good news is Ben McAdoo is probably going to leave. And long term, I mean, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you can't do it with Ben. So it's going to be rough, man. You know, the fans in the stadium are going to be getting on you. Motivation that better times are ahead in the you know, looking towards the future.
Yeah. All right, I know that you got to get out of here. You know, you only had like 20 minutes, so we got you on. But real quick, you know, you brought up B.J. Goodson. That's a good name to bring up because he's been underrated for you guys. He's flashed.
Yeah, and out of Clemson, 4th rounder. You know, Casillas is playing in there, but I'm really impressed. I mean, he is maybe the most improved player on the team. They're letting him take snaps. The kid is just a tackling machine. He wasn't flashy at Clemson, but you look at Clemson's defense now with Venables, and BJ's really been a bright spot. The Giants are not they're not a rebuild whatsoever, Adrian. Once they get in a coach, like I could see David Shaw from Stanford. I've been plugging David Shaw's name, or even maybe retired for a little bit and comes out. The Giants are in position with the softer schedule next year. They're going to be in position to honestly win Eli a 3rd Super Bowl with the defense that they have.
All right. Plug what you want to plug. I forgot to do it in the beginning, so my bad. So plug your show.
I love coming on these Google Hangouts. I really appreciate the invitation. We'll have to connect even further and talk all about the NFL. And Adrian, you know, it was funny. You look at this season, and last night was honestly the most enjoyable game of the whole season. Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought? Rams and 49ers. I was like, oh, God. I was like thinking about not even watching the game. And then look what happened.
You saw the yellow jerseys. You wanted to vomit, right? You have to get past that, right? Stick in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny, right? And then you know, as a Giants fan, you look at Ben McAdoo and you're like, geez, this 31-year-old coach, you know, how freaking hard could it be? Because Shawnee McVay, it's really age is just a number. And with Brian Hoyer last night, it was fun to see some fireworks. But, yeah, you guys can find me at Rover Sports and Rover-Sports on Twitter. So you having me on, man, and just follow Rover Sports and keep following this guy. You know, you do great work, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, whenever you want to come on the show, whenever you want me on, I'm always down.
Ben, as a sounding board, it's therapy for me as a Giants fan to get this off my plate, man. And easy task for you because I ain't bringing any ammunition to this fight. You're bringing rocket launchers, and I'm trying to swing an energy sword, man. So you know.
I'm the United States. You're North Korea.
Oh, Ben McAdoo and Kim Jong.
Yeah, Ben McAdoo is a dope tart.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, we're gonna end it on that note. I'm gonna let you leave. So with that being said, what's that?
No, it was easy task for you having me on this week, man.
Yeah. With that being said, that's Spencer Grossinger of Rover Sports. I'm Adrian Fedke. Take care, guys.
Yep, take care.